Hey guys, bringing you another house building video here. Now it's still me talking over the top of it and it's still a time lapse, but this one's substantially faster than the other one, mainly because nothing much really happens in this and the stuff that does happen is really boring. It's kind of like part 3 of my Appaloosa Ranch series. It had awesome music, I will still rant about that music. It had interesting building, but for people who aren't into technical stuff, which you're probably not because you're on my channel, it's not that interesting. So this is a 5 times time lapse, so it goes much faster, and so to try and explain the things that are going on, I'm here to talk about them. I redid the roof over the garage there, because it was really stupid, and I started with the front porch. I'm now continuing on with the back roof, where I couldn't really find a good orientation for some of these pieces because they're really awkward shapes. I had a thing in mind of having a small half gable going up the roof, but you can't do long half gables in The Sims 3. You need to fix that in The Sims 4 EA. Pay attention, EA. So instead I had to go for a wide gable, which was less desirable, but it worked. Constraint floor elevation false is always annoying with your already changed multi-level segments. There's nothing you can really do about that. See, I'm having massive problems trying to get the orientation to look good in that bit, because it's an awkward shaped roof. I think I end up settling with some weird, half gable solution there. Sorry, half hipped. That bit of flooring there over the pillars will eventually be some sort of terrace, hopefully. Adding in flooring and removing flooring where useful in the bedroom wing, and changing the corridor layout in the ground floor where the master bedrooms can be. I need to leave a 1-tile gap around the majority of it because it's going to be sunken into a hill. You need to leave a 1-tile gap around your buildings in order to sink the terrain around them. Otherwise it just won't work. So that way the terrain difference can be taken in by that one gap. You can have something much lower inside of a deep hole with that one gap, especially now with the 1 stair height that EA has allowed us to get to. Just fixing up a couple of annoying bugs with the roof, and I think we're then going to move on to terrain after doing the fence along the front, which will go by the end of the video. What to talk about? Sorry for not bringing you guys any videos until like now, because I haven't been able to use my Movie Maker. I had a corrupted file, which even after I reinstalled it multiple times, it didn't do anything. So that sucked. I went to Windows support and I couldn't really get any help besides giving them all of my computer info and usage, and I didn't really want to do that. But now I have a new computer, yay, and I re-downloaded Movie Maker onto this computer and it works fine. So yay, more videos. So I have this footage which I recorded yesterday, and then I have a whole bunch of footage I recorded a long time ago which I wasn't able to edit, but now I can edit it, so lots of content. But can you let me know in the comments? Do you like this voiceover style? Do you like music style? You tell me. So what I was doing before was custom terrain sculpting in that main central area. Okay, not main central area, the central area between the 2 bits of bedroom wing. And I'm now continuing that custom terrain sculpting in the middle area there. Trying to make it smooth but not overly smooth, what the smooth terrain tool does, a bit jaggedy, so I can then make it a kind of rock texture or granite texture, and it'll come out fine. That entire middle area is supposed to be raised so that the front of the house is like on a single story, and then the back sticks out partially, although it does fall away as well. So that middle area was going to be covering up the majority of it down to 1 story, so it was a big hill and little tropical retreat. But because of the restrictions to do with corridor widths, with that 1-tile size restriction, or allowance, I had to get rid of most of it. But I will have that one wall there, which will be rock face. So that'll be good. Now I try and smooth out the edge of the lot, and what I always hate with the smooth tool is that it tries to make a line into a smoothed parabola. So it starts off flat and then goes up at either end, but when you do it at the edge of the lot, you get a very awkward sharp angle at the edge, which you have to manually try and get rid of by flattening out parts of it and then going at it again. I try to avoid that where possible, just so it gives a natural look, despite having a giant hill in the middle of a flat lot. Doesn't exactly look that natural. I think that's about all the terrain changes we did to the back of the lot for this episode, and we now just work on the front driveway. See, there goes the front balustrade thing. Replaced it with a roof because it looked way too flat and modern and bulky for what at the back was a modern house. Here I start working on the driveway, which is obviously quite steep to get up to the top of the house, but none of this stays, and even the stuff I do in this episode I'm probably going to change later because I am not that happy with the result. I saw what I did and I didn't like it, so I'm going to change it. Just trying to make the terrain a bit more natural here, so we don't have sheer cliff faces everywhere. Wanting to save the trash can and mailbox before I lose them inside of the terrain, because I've got constrained floor elevation on, so it's going to go over the objects whether I like it to or not. So I thought I'd put them on the front porch before they all got buried. You can kind of see the driveway as a line through there. I'm trying to think of what to do now, and I know what I want to do. I want to build a giant bridge over the front driveway to get to the main porch. How stupid of me. So here is me starting to set up the bridge. It's going to be an arched bridge rather than just a straight one, because I want it to look nice. But I use a similar technique to what Sims 3 has shown off in a couple of his old tutorials of making a little archway at the front of the house, or an arch bridge over a lake or something, which is where you use constrained floor elevation, you build a wall underneath of your structure, and you use the terrain to make an arch. You then turn off constrained floor elevation false and flatten the terrain again. It only really works for ground floor or second floor if you're insane, but it is effective. So there you go, you see me changing the terrain. It wasn't high enough, so I add a bit more. I make the arch inside of the terrain, and then I'll delete the terrain when I'm happy with it. Because I've got 2 tiles of foundation on the right and only 1 tile of foundation on the left, it was really annoying. I ended up adding a second tile of foundation on the left just to make it even. I did 2 rather than 1 because I didn't want a sheer cliff face all the way from the top down to the driveway. I wanted a much shallower cliff face over 2 tiles rather than 1, so I could sculpt it myself or just have it generally be a shallower angle rather than the sheer face of a 1 tile thing, which restricts it to 1 tile because you can't work the terrain within the tile. So that's why I did that. Even after I'd gotten on the other side, getting the arch to be smooth and even was quite hard. So there we go, I finished the arch, and now I've just got to flatten out the top, because by doing that you get a very tall top. It automatically makes all walls maximum height if possible. So I flattened it down to that, so it's got a flat top and an arched bottom, but the flat top is too high. There's no point walking up the massive hill to get to the arch and then just to walk down another flight of stairs. So that's why I'm going to replace that entire arch probably next time to be equal height, if not lower, than the front porch. It would make sense for it to be lower, because then you can have it much lower over the driveway, because you'll see in this that it's insanely high over the driveway. It's 2 stories above the driveway. If it was lower than the front porch, it could be 1 story over the driveway. It would look much cuter, much snugger, much more in place, and then it would be an intermediate tier between the porch and the main thing, as an intermediate step which you have to take in order to get up to the front porch, rather than this where it seems you made it to the top and now we're going to go down again, because it is quite high above the ground. It's like 4 stories above the ground. So it turns out that the rest of this episode is kind of pointless because I will be deleting it. The next episode I haven't actually filmed that yet, so I'll be sure to do that. If you want to stop watching now and watch the next episode, you can. I'm not going to blame you. But it would be cool if you hung around. Because I couldn't connect the foundation of the bridge to the front porch, because that would have just killed off all the terraforming. Well, not terraforming, the sculpting of the the walls I'd done. I had to leave a one tile gap and instead have a gap between them, which looks pretty terrible. I'm going to try and fix that also. Now that I've got the bridge done, I turn constraint floor elevation back off again, and I continue with terrain forming. That sort of height with the bridge looks much more natural. Although it's still way too high with what I just did there. There'll be a small roundabout or car park area in that space before the U-turn where it goes into the garage, because, I don't know, you have a party or something. You want lots of space to park all the cars. You want a couple of cars outside because you don't want to park them in the garage. That sort of thing. Or you want just a U-turn space for your car. So it won't be a roundabout, but it will be a car parking gravel area, which you'll see at the end of the video where I kind of lay out where I want the driveway to go. With that, I was wanting the stairs to have their own walls like they do inside, but it seems for outdoors the stairs won't do that, so I just gave up and ended up going for a small flight of stairs. It's 3 tiers of stairs down to the ground floor, to the road, if that makes sense. So there's tier 1, which is a good story and a half in itself. So if you wanted to go from the front porch down to the driveway, or from the driveway up to the front porch, you'd take that set of stairs, or some sort of door in the garage or something, which would make much more practical sense. Another reason I'd replace it, because you don't need to go up a story and a half. You could go up half a story and then another half story after you've done the bridge. You could have the road sloping away drastically at that point, and it would look really good. I finish off the episode by making a couple of fixes with the shaping of the rest of the house when I stuffed it up at the beginning of the episode, and roughly lay out the gravel area for the car park, and that's the end of the episode. Thank you for watching it, hope you enjoyed it.